Yeah, it's very like we said before. It is in the player's best interest to win as many games as possible as early as possible. So both of these players might be trying to exercise their highest level of strength here, but of course they have to be thinking about what their opponent is bringing in.
Ooh.
We hear things getting started right here.
That's Emir Sama.
Not the matchup I was expecting to get things started. Eridan taking on Radovid. This is going to be great.
I heard that wrong, sorry.
No, this is going to be a great start.
This is very interesting. So we see Adzikov leading off with his control Eridan, while Freddybabes is going with Radovid. Now, this is actually a rather rough matchup for Radovid, in my opinion. As looking at the deck list, we see that Freddybabes has no weather clear whatsoever. And, you know, it's expected to see Radovid target the likes of the Wall Hunt Riders, as Adzikov's list is revolving around proccing Iris with the Frost by, you know, boosting up the damage dealt. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, $1,000 US on the line. The first match, the revenge. Adzikov versus Freddybabes. Freddybabes was able to defeat Adzikov in the Gwent Slam #2 in the quarterfinals, and Adzikov really wants, you know, to prove that why he's the #1 player on the pro ladder. So I'm very excited about this. He's going to lead off with the Wall Hunt Hound, potentially baiting him to play something, you know, in a different row so he can drowner it.
Yeah, leading off with Frost proactively is very good for the drowner strategy, being able to drag whatever Freddybabes decides to avoid the Frost, if he decides to avoid the Frost, and drag it into the row, get that extra value.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing right there? At the very right of the hand, it is, I hope I can say this, the prick himself, Lambert.
We got Lambert. Yeah, we got Lambert in Freddybabes' hand, and we have the Crones in Adzikov hands. These are very underrepresented cards in the tournament scene, and even you know, we haven't really seen a lot of these cards being played in tournaments before. So, you know, Lambert being able to damage units that have the same name, and of course the Crones being the triple silver, the one Crone pulling the other Crones out of the deck, thinning, a 20-point play in itself. It looks like Adzikov is going to use the Drowner right now just to tank this Blue Stripe Scout, denying any Reaver Scout possibilities.
Yeah, do not mistake this as a mistake by Freddy. He really thought about this for a while. Even though normally you want to play units in the Frost row, so you avoid the Drowner from actually being able to damage, get the extra, you know, 4 points. The thing here is that if you drag the Blue Stripe Scouts onto the Frost row, you're also dragging the Blue Stripes Commando there as well. So you're basically dooming those 2 units, and it's kind of like not working out for you regardless. And he does have the triple Blue Stripe Scouts in his hand. Also seal the Tanserville with the Macam Ale. It's the first time I see her serving beers, but you know.
Yeah.
Seems good.
Yeah, I mean, Freddybabes' Northern Realms list is really something. There's a lot of cards in here that haven't been seen very often. Sheila being able to work with the Mahakam Ale. Unfortunately for Freddybabes, with having no weather clear and needing to have a unit on each row for that ale to get maximum value, it's going to be a little bit tougher for Freddy to get a lot of value out of the ale, but Sheila will help. She's able to play a bronze card and immediately replace that with another card from the deck. We have Nanika as well, which has seen a lot of less play since she was changed a patch or 2 ago. And then, of course, Lambert, we just saw on the screen there. Not a very common bronze card, but can often get decent value.
For those of you who do not know what Lambert does, because you've never seen him ever, well, Lambert is a 7 strength gold that has the deployability damaging an enemy by 5 and damaging up to 4 copies of said target by 4. So in the right scenario, it can actually reach 20 value without too much difficulty. As we see the second Frost being dropped down here by Adzikov. Adzikov 10 points in the lead, and now it's when, because of Freddybabes' lack of weather clear, the longer this round goes, the more he's going to suffer. And because of, like you said, the Macam Ale, he's forced to position in a certain way, so he can't really dodge the Frost rows if he wants to get full value out of his plays. But it seems like, honestly, he may just flood his entire board. Like, he may be expecting the entire board to be flooded by Frost. As something very interesting about this matchup is that Caretaker can deny Shani Resurrections round 3. So, you know, units such as Syl or potentially Stennis or Trolalo. But he has to be careful with Iris at the same time, because if he plays Iris early on, then he's giving him the potential to resurrect it with Shani. And even though he gives Shani 2 armor, guess who knocks out Iris anyways? Guess who deals 5 damage?
That's Lambert, right?
Yep, that's a sweet combo right there. Like, he has to be careful. Adzikov is definitely not expecting that card. I would not, like, how can you anticipate that, right?
It's tough It's tough to do that. I think a key card that we'll see is definitely how well Iris will be able to be utilized. We do know that Adzikov is running Iris in this deck. Iris with the Wild Hunt Riders, very, very easily to destroy her. You put her on your opponent's side of the board, and she boosts up to 5 units by 5 on your side of the board. And with the Wild Hunt Riders increasing frost damage to 3 per turn, Iris basically dies immediately. No chance for the opponent to react to it. As Radovid comes down, the leader ability here, dealing 4 damage and locking units. Adzikov has another rider in his pocket to keep the threat alive for a potential Iris. He's also still holding on to those crones as the frost is just slowly strangling Freddy. It's going to be difficult for him. He may have to opt just putting something on the Seadro and just trying to get some strength by the ale and finding a favorable pass here.
Now, what's very fascinating here is that if Freddybabes plays at the Marrying Infantryman before using a buff spell like Macam Ale, he could fall into an absolutely devastating Geralt Igni, which is sitting in the hand of Adzikov right there. He may just go with Lambert now. I mean, it's
a value play.
Decent swing. It is a decent swing. We're talking about, math time. 60
Adzikov
points.
with the eyebrows raised.
Now, this is super key. Instead of opting to eliminate the Wall Hunt Rider, that was at 5 points. He could have done that. He hit them in the reverse order because he does not want to give him a Slizard target, or Slizzard pronunciation. Yeah.
No, that is great. The Slizzard, one of the new cards added to Gwent, allows you to source an additional copy from your deck as long as you have one of those copies already in the graveyard. But in this case, no copies will be in the graveyard, as Lambert wasn't actually there to take that Wild Hunt Rider out at 5. It was actually, very strategic play of Lambert there.
Yep.
Still getting decent value there. 16 points out of Lambert, just using it as a value play here. Maybe there might be some other matchup that Freddybabes was targeting, but here he's just happy to get the value from Lambert.
I like this round 1 Crones. It thins through the deck. It provides with a very powerful swing that he does need because he needs to generate a significant strength gap so that he can potentially pass safely. As it does seem, oh my lord. Oh, but he has to drop it in the range. Okay. Freddybabes completely dodging Igni by like a centimeter here. The question is there any way he can spawn another Drowner to get rid of that Lambert and set up the Igni of his life? Or no, you can just do that.
Well,
what am I talking about?
Is that
what am I talking about?
That is the way.
Oh man, this is so good. This is so good for Adzikov.
This is going to be devastating right here.
Oh man, if we see the pass, that's gonna be a how much is that? 29 point Igni. Are you kidding me?
I mean, that's all Adzikov would need to do to probably force Freddybabes out of this round. It would be a backbreaking amount of strength.
The beer can save him though. The beer can save him.
The beer can save him. And there's not a lot of other options really for Freddy at this point. He has now units on all of his rows. The beer will hit 1 unit on each row and boost it by 4. Especially if it were to hit the Blue Stripe Scout, which is at 3, that would be a huge save. It looks like that's what's going to happen here, and this is excellent. This is excellent from Freddybabes. He didn't have a lot of other options here. Don't think he was going to play Nanik.
Oh, he still plays into Igni though.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what are the odds of that happening? Well, he buffed the weakened Blue Stripe Scouts, lining up with the Sill. This is a 19-point Igni, which is nowhere near as impressive as the other one that was going to be. But now the problem is Adzikov is kind of stuck because he has a round 1 card and the other 4 are like not usable right now.
Yeah, his hand isn't very round 1 friendly at this point. But I mean, so we see a great Igni opportunity, but honestly, like there's really not a lot of other plays that you would make in this case. Though. So I mean, you would make it, and then Freddy maybe just would pass right there, and then you don't have any plays that are strong enough to continue into this round. So
I expect the pass here.
I mean, either Adzikov pass, he's going to go for the Igni. So Freddy's reaction to this play can be huge here. If he actually decides to pass here, Adzikov is in a tough spot.
Yeah, he is. Geralt Igni, as you can see there, is a 5 strength gold unit with the deployability of destroying all the highest units on the same row if that row equals 25 strength or higher. So in the prior case, before the beer, before the alcohol happened, there was a lineup in the range row of 4 6 strength units. So Geralt Igni would have basically burned them all and would have given Adzikov a 29-point swing, which is pretty much absurd. Right now, he still has the weather in his favor, but as you said, like his entire hand, oh boy. But I mean, it's still like, he can play any card really. Like, Lizard is enough anyways. He just needs the 3 points because, yeah.
The Frost will do the rest here, so he'll have to spend
I actually
the Frost.
forgot about that guy, yeah.
Yeah, he'll still have to. Radovid did take out the Wild Hunt Hound, so this will be enough.
This is fine. This is perfect. Like, he got out of the, he managed to win the round just in time.
Yeah.
This is really good for Adzikov.
I mean,
very solid for him.
None of those plays were super favorable. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have a lot of ways to source weather. I mean, at this point, Adzikov probably has the idea that Freddybabes doesn't have a lot of answers for weather, or else he would have seen one at that point. So being able to, having to use his last hound there leaves him with, well, he does have Caranthir now on the draw and Iris. He'll be able to source a Wild Hunt Rider with Slizzard. Adzikov can really put a lot of pressure on here in the third round here as we go with an open pass. Freddy will have to spend a card and then start first into the third round here.
This is a very dominant spot for Adzikov. Those lizards, which were awkward before, are anything but awkward now. That Caretaker is also representing massive power if he does target Iris. The problem is, I really like this open pass from Adzikov. He's going to have one card of his opponent. And as I mentioned prior, against Northern Realms, you do not want to use Iris before round 3 due to the threat of Shani. So I like this line of play by Adzikov, playing it safe, very methodical, and really, really taking the wheel in this game. As I'm looking over the deck list here, and I don't, like, barring Radovid, yep, there's no answer whatsoever. Unless he buffs it with Macam Ale, but even then, there's no answer whatsoever to Iris in the deck of Freddybabes. This could be bad for him.
And because Adzikov will be able to source a Wild Hunt Rider with the Slizzard, it means that not only will he be able to create a row where Iris can get killed, he also holds Caretaker in his hand, which can bring Iris right back.
God, this is gonna be
and
nasty.
he can actually get his potential to have a double Iris here as
He has
Adzikov
the
draws
Gold Frost.
one of his most favorite cards. Adzikov running Muzzle in every one of his decks in this tournament. Muzzle is
What can you say? He likes Muzzle.
He likes Muzzle. I mean, it's very much, you know, Muzzle combats Muzzle. Muzzle is also a great card in itself, being able to pull an 8-strength unit up to 8 strength from one side of the board to the other. Sometimes the best answer to Muzzle is Muzzle, so we're seeing a little bit of a Muzzle meta at the moment as Freddybabes needs to make the decision here to lead off this round. Probably going to be Trolololo, if I had to guess, but also any strategy with Nenica can be employed at this point as well.
Adzikov's hand looks so threatening, and the fact that he has one card over his opponent and he has last say is just such a massive deal. If he's able to proc Iris twice, there's just no way Freddybabes can overcome that. It's gonna be. I know I mentioned. I'm not an alcoholic, guys. I know I mentioned the beer a lot, but it's important. Like, it could buff Iris, and 4 strength. Moving it up to 7 strength, that makes it harder to kill. And you could bet that there's many things you could muzzle, but he's not gonna muzzle Iris back.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
We'll take another look at Iris right now, as it is going to be a crucial card here for Adzikov to secure the win. Like we said before, Wild Hunt Rider means that Iris will be killed as soon as it drops down onto a row, as long as there's no other units at lower strength on the board, which means that it will proc. Caretaker can bring it back to proc it once again, and it's just going to be a matter of time before we see that light show here.
Iris is a very unique card in the game. For those of you who do not know what she does, she is a disloyal 3-strength silver unit. And you may think, why would I ever give my opponent 3 points? Like, I'm new to Gwent, but I'm not that bad. And the thing is, when she goes down, her Death Wish ability is buff 5 random units on your side of the board by 5. We're talking about a 25-point swing. If he gets that Wild Hunt Rider on the same row as the Frost row, Iris will proc immediately. So even if Freddybabes had an answer, it just won't stop it. I like the placement of Stennis. That's going to stall out the utility of Iris for a couple of turns, as it does share the same strength, and after this turn ends, it will go down to 1. This is a super tight moment right here, as Freddybabes have been able to generate a lot of points, and he still has a pretty strong hand. Like, this is not over.
Yeah, Adzikov is going to want to spend this time to develop more units on his board anyway, so he's not in a rush to play Iris until he has enough units that can be buffed by Iris. And here comes the Wild Hunt Rider. What is Freddybabes able to do here? I'm just going to take a look at his deck here, because Dijkstra can potentially source an answer, but I do not think that there's anything that can clear the weather nor influence the Rider in any way at this point.
Nope.
Not so
much. He has no answer. It was just Radovid.
Yeah.
And the thing is, some of you may think, muzzle? You can't muzzle anything. But if he, like, for those of you who may think, why he rushed Radovid like he did, a player like Adzikov is never going to give Radovid a couple of Wild Hunt Riders to just lock. That was just never going to happen. So I really like the way Freddybabes reacted there, but because of the composition of his deck, this is, like I said, a very rough matchup for him, and I just see nothing stopping this Iris. Nothing.
Are you wounded?
Well, there are still some, I believe the marching orders would pull a Reaver Scout. There is a single Reaver Scout in Freddybabes' deck here. I'm not sure how much that's going to, I mean, he will be able to source a Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry, if I'm not mistaken. He has only played one at this point, and he does have a second in his deck, so there is that much. As Adzikov continues to set up his units here, I'm going to be playing the last Slizzard here.
Slizzard also contributing.
Gets a Drowner, yep.
Yeah, Slizzard also contributing really well to floating, like enable him to get a bunch of units on the board really fast. And this is really solid because it makes Iris easier to proc. Like the fact that if Iris goes twice, if Iris goes off twice
once even at this point.
This is going to be so nasty. Freddy has to believe in the DJ.
Oh, my mistake. The Reaver Scout was not the pick there. It was
no Reaver Scout. No, he returns Stennis to utilize marching orders. Stennis pulling the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry, which is going to take 8 armor from Tralala, which means it will take away 8 strength, buffing up to 15. A nice lead for Freddy, but the worst is yet to come. If I'm Adzikov, I just muzzle the Neneke here. Honestly, you also prevent the Macam Ale that way. Even though has he already seen one?
Oh, he's done. Yeah, he's seen one.
So
that was part of the
muzzle,
Igni situation there.
Or, I mean, you also don't lose nothing by just going for Iris. That also makes sense.
Yeah, at this point,
Yeah, I think this is actually safer. Yeah.
And
Boom,
you see it, no chance for Freddy to really react in
Here
that.
comes the DJ. Here comes the DJ.
John
Natalis entering the
not
board.
Bad. No Commander's Horn though. No reinforcement. The band.
Oh, it's a dead John Natalis. Never mind. Well,
Only reinforcement and marching orders in the deck.
Bad,
both cards
man.
used. John Natalis just
bad.
6 points in that situation. Unfortunate for Freddybabes. He could have seen a lot of other cards that may have helped him a little bit more, such as Shawnee. But that is not the case here.
I like him leaving the muzzle for the very end because he knows that at this very moment, Iris is 100% secure. So this is definitely the best line of play. Definitely the best line of play by Adzikov, going for the double Iris. Here it goes again. Boomba once more. Look at those beefy units. Oh my lord, this is a wrap. Adzikov with a very dominating victory for the first match here. Getting that Aridin win and with...
wants to play all of his cards here.
Cheeky you.
Adzikov's going to take game 1 of the series. So far, this matchup's just getting started. Game 1 going to Adzikov, winning with Aridin. No longer can Aridin be played by Adzikov. He'll be taking Bruverhug or King Bran into the next matchup. Freddy's going to decide what he is going to line up here as Dandelion. How's it going, my
friend? Thanks, my friend.
Lot on the line still. Adzikov is looking to close this one out now. He's going to have to choose what he's going to be taking in here. I think Freddybabes may or may not decide to give Radovid another shot in this case. He does have 2 very strong decks. We've seen his Unseen Elder deck. It's quite awesome, I would say. And then, of course, Emir Spies is one of the strongest decks in the game, so he does have that at his disposal.
He does. I'm expecting Bruverhug here from Adzikov as he is going to go second this time around, and a weather deck like Movement Scoia'tael really does benefit from winning the coin flip. And I would preserve King Freyan for the 3rd game in which he's going to go first again. But when it comes to Freddy, it's harder to predict as I wasn't necessarily expecting Northern Realms for his lead, but we'll see. We'll see if he believes in Lambert once more or if he opts to twist it up. But this is a very exciting series. These 2 players are just so good. And Adzikov is so hungry for revenge, it just adds that extra spice to it.
Well, you were right. Bruverhug was the pick for Adzikov, but Freddybabes is going to take another stab at it with Radovid here. So we're going to see if Radovid is going to be able to get a little bit more value here.
Gotta be careful.
Look at that gold weather. Beautiful.
Oh man, this hand is this Adzikov's hand is looking gorgeous. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Look at this hand.
We already know Freddy's dealings with weather were not great in the last round. Now he's going to compete with 2 golden weather in Adzikov's hand. What is Freddy really going to do about this? He's going to get pushed very, very hard. It's going to be, even if the round is favorable for Freddy in any way, it's going to be something he's always going to be climbing that hill as the golden weather is going to be taking care of him. Freddybabes wants to stack rows. He wants the most value possible out of the Mahakam Ale, and it's going to hurt him because it looks like there's probably always going to be golden weather ticking on all 3 of his rows, taking 6 damage per turn potentially. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we know what Freddybabes' strategy is and how the beer will work for him, the Mahakam Ale, and how that's really just perfect for Adzikov here.
Now, this is a matchup in which, ladies and gentlemen, Lambert could actually be pretty decent. This deck has a lot of multiple copies of the same unit, and it doesn't really have anything that can capitalize on damaged units as well. So Lambert can potentially find quite a bit of value here, even 20 potentially. And he can also deal with blue-mounted commandos. Like, there's a lot of good things going for that. But unfortunately, Lambert is not enough to win a match. And this is another matchup in which Adzikov is running double gold weather, and as we mentioned before, Freddy has no weather clears. No weather clears, and Scorch, just as Igni was before, Scorch is super dangerous here. Because Adzikov has a lot of ways to line up units and get like a very powerful Scorch going on.
I mean, we can kind of see the strategy Adzikov might employ in this round one. The Dual Phantom Marksman, every time it is moved or another unit is moved, it will ping for 2 damage as well as a deploy on 2 damage. When you have multiple versions, when you have multiple units, the multiple marksmen on the board, cards like Zoltan are unbelievably good, like really just devastating amounts of strength, as well as Dwarven Agitators, which will be sourcing the Dwarven Mercenaries, which also move units, thereby engaging the marksmen. So Adzikov has a way of really pushing this in the long round, and we're not even talking about the gold weather yet, and we're not even talking about the Scorch. So now Adzikov is considering using Zoltan right now. Even with 1 marksman on the board, though, this is still a pretty strong play.
Gotta go with Zoltan here. Every time a unit is moved, it gets hit by the Double Phantom Marksman, and Zoltan himself does damage as well by 2. So with this play, he's able to clear that entire setup and prevent potentially a Reaver Scout from being able to continue that chain. As I said, like, movement is so good, not only because of the lack of weather clears here, but also because even if he didn't have weather, his own movement can deny Macam AO value because he knows it's a thing now. He knows he's running it. So this is a tough match for Freddy, but he may hold on to his Radovid. No, he's just going to go for it.
Looks like he's considering not holding on to it. He hasn't decided. Oh, yes, he has.
He's going for it.
I think that now. I mean, I think that Zoltan was fine to be played. I think Adzikov knows exactly how strong his future rounds are with the Golden Weather. Freddybabes. I mean, there are. Like we said before, we don't think Adzikov's ever going to give him 2 targets to hit with Radovid. So Freddybabes just opted to get the value play and also lock down one of those marksmen. But Adzikov, with marksmen's galore in his hand, a lot of ways to get them out and still push a very devastating long round, and maybe not even having to use a weather here. That could just be his tactic for strangling in round 2 and closing out round 3.
Double Phantom Marksman is a very powerful unit in this deck. It's one of the strongest bronze cards in Scoia'tael, in my opinion, as it has so many good synergies with bronzes, silvers, and golds. And we also see Operator in the hand of Adzikov, which is obviously going to target the Dwarven Agitator, which is that 2-strength bronze unit, as it will be a completely useless card for Freddy while it provide him with quite a lot of stats. It's a very powerful play, but he can also preserve that for round 3. Here comes the gold weather. He can afford this because he won the coin flip. See, this is why I think Adzikov has really adapted well to this format. And here comes the drought. Here comes the drought, and here starts the movement, the moving. The movie. Movement, the movie.
Great point about Operator, though. Operator is a card that puts a copy of a bronze card in your opponent's hand and also gives you that same copy, the Dwarven Agitator. Very useful for Dwarven decks, however, useless for Freddybabes. And of course, we know that Golden Weather. We see the Drought on the board right now, damaging each row by 2 each turn. The lowest unit, Ragnarok, damaging the highest unit by 2 each turn. Freddy has rows stacked in this case, even though he does have Mahaka Mail, which suggests that splitting the rows would be a better strategy, but perhaps anticipating Golden Weather here from Brewer, knowing how Adzikov plays, anticipating that this would be something that could get him out of the round here. And at this point, Freddy, he has cards that he will not really be able to get a lot of value on. If he decides to split the rows, he's playing into the weather. But if he doesn't split the rows, those Mahaka Mail is just 4 points each card. So it's just a tough situation for Freddy.
It's a very tough spot. It's very awkward for Freddy. It's also important to note that I'm expecting Adzikov to preserve Scorch for round 3. I think in this matchup, because of the threat of Shani, you definitely want to preserve your strong removal for that scenario in which he may try to beat you in a short round with a Dun Banner Heavy Cavalry combo. As he's probably going with Barclay Elves. Barclay Elves is a very solid deck in this scenario. It thins through your deck, and it also provides you with a very nice tempo swing. And it also moves stuff and empowers the weather and synergizes with the marksman. Like, this deck is just working wonders for Adzikov right now, and I'm not surprised Movement Scoia'tael is one of the most powerful decks in the metagame.
So Scorch is a card that Adzikov has been known to use. If you've ever run into him on Pro Ladder or seen any of his games, seen him in tournaments, he is someone who is, he likes to be patient with Scorch. He always tries to make sure that he gets the best value. Right now, Freddybabes with Trollolo on the board is going to be always the Scorch target in this situation, but using Scorch in round 3 to close things out, especially when you have the opportunity to act on the other side of the coin. In this case, Adzikov was able to go second in this match as per the coin regulations for this tournament. So no need to rush at this point. Freddie may opt to decide to use his Mahaka Mail now that at least, even though it wasn't really his choice,
the pass.
He's just going to get out of this round though. So Adzikov will have to play into this if he doesn't want to tie. I think that this is probably the best opportunity.
I think
Freddie
this is correct. Yeah, I think this is a correct pass by Freddie. He's acknowledging that, you know, a couple of turns from now, he's no longer going to have the luxury of being able to get out of this round, forcing a card out of his opponent. So he passes and thus, you know, ends it. But the thing is, now Adzikov is in the driver's seat, and what Adzikov is going to do 100% is open pass here. We're going to see an open pass for Adzikov, leading into a long third round, because a deck like Movement Squato that relies on hazards like Ragnarok and a bunch of different combos that, you know, get stronger over time, really loves a long round. So Adzikov, very likely, I would be shocked to not see an open pass here, and gonna lead us to a decisive round 3 in which Northern Realms may not be as powerful because Shani prefers a shorter round generally.
I think it's not necessarily going to be an open pass, though. I think that because Adzikov knows that Freddie's been struggling with weather, being able to strangle him with drought in this round and bleed him dry could be a consideration, especially if Adzikov had Hattori in hand to bring back Barclay Elves, but he just
matchup though. I think especially with cards like Operator, Brewer Hoog into Hattori to get back Barclay Elves, Verhead Brigade to move things around. I think this is a very clear open pass. Like, it's just, I expect that from him, or maybe not. Maybe
well,
not.
I think, or
maybe he may go for the swing. Nah, it's not. Yeah, he's really debating it. He's really thinking
about it.
I would take it. I would take it.
I think with Hattori on Brewer, sorry, I completely neglected to mention that Brewer is able to source Hattori. Hattori being able to resurrect Barclay Elves for an incredible single card play with Brewer. So with that as an option, I think that maybe bleeding out Freddybabes was a consideration, but ultimately, rather it just get these cards evened out and have Freddybabes go first in this round is what Adzikov is hoping will be the right decision for this round.
It's definitely like, it's definitely you can debate it, right? But the way I see it is, in a short round, Northern Realms is very scary because of those two cards sitting right next to each other. The DJ himself, Dijkstra and Shani, just represents so much potential value that I think Adzikov ultimately decided not to risk it. Adzikov's late game is looking so crisp.
Really
Operator onto Dwarven Agitator, which he will not be able to mulligan because it is round 3. Brewer Hoog into Hattori, which will resurrect Barclay Elves. It's nuts, like so many points. And there's a blue mountain command. Oh, this is just
It just gets better and better.
Oh my God.
Very, very crisp. Extra crispy if the Scorch hits the right target for sure. And yeah, great point about the Operator. That Dwarven Agitator is just going to be useless in Freddie's hand, and there's no way of him to get rid of it at this point.
His hand is fire, pun intended.
Well, actually, does he have a Banner Tutor? Does he have a Banner Tutor for the Agitator? I mean, there are ways to do it.
Does he have a what?
A Banner Tutor to no. Well, yeah. At this point, looking at this here, there is, I believe, no way, unless John Natalis sources a Banner Tutor. I'm not actually sure if that's an option for Freddie. So he will be stuck with the Dwarven Agitator in hand potentially.
Oh, you mean like reinforcements into it?
Well, just something that he can get to get it out of his hand.
Oh, yeah. I get what you're saying. Like no, because I believe. No, he's willing to get away one of the Maga males, so that could happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is an opportunity.
Oh, but he plays it now.
Yeah, there is an opportunity to do it here, and I think that maybe Freddie could have made the read that Operator Agitator is something that was coming. It is fairly common in Brewer Hoog, and that was his solution to getting a very worthless card in his hand. I think maybe Shani might have been played a little early here.
Now, I'm thinking, what will John Natalis aim to reinforcements? I think he may combine that with Neneke, actually. He may bring something back and search for it again with John Natalis, as he's already used Shani. This is looking really solid for Adzikov, though. Like, he can just chill. We can drop the Blue Mountain Commandos or even go with the Operator. He may be like expecting another Banner tutor, so it may be a little bit risky to play the operator early on. He maybe want to scout him a little bit more, and that's why he's not going for the operator immediately, I think.
Well, Adzikov can really take his time with operator now that he's, I mean, he knows the Banner tutors are in the deck. He's going to go play a Dunbanner heavy cavalry. And yeah, Adzikov can take his time. He has really, really like low commitment stuff to play here. He plays the Varied Brigade, which is a weather clear unit for Scoia'tael, but also moves an opponent's unit, which is exactly what Adzikov wants to do here. Freddy can sort of combat this because the Mahaka Mail is better for him in a split row. But I mean, the value is really kind of a wash because you're playing into the Ragnarok. The Ragnarok is just going to devastate this board. I mean, how many times are we going to say it, really? I mean, at this point, Freddybabes is probably wishing he had a little bit more ways to handle weather in his decks.
The interesting thing here is whether he'll utilize his movement onto the Blue Mounted Commandos, which is a very solid play because they do get buffed by 2 strength every single time they are moved from one row to another. Or he may just focus all his movement onto spreading the units out and making sure. But the thing is, he knows he's running Makameo, so it's kind of like a, you know, it may actually represent more value to go for the Blue Mounted Commandos themselves. As we see Neneke, and he's targeting Tralalo, Stennis, which are both targetable by reinforcements, which John Natalis will pull with his ability. And he's hovering over the Dwarven Mercenary. I think that's a safe play.
Yeah, I mean, making sure there's a unit on each row is definitely going to hurt Freddy as far as the triple weather is ticking here. I mean, he will have, I mean, Freddy might just opt to just play Sheila into a Mahaka Mail and then another Mahaka Mail just so he can get full value before things start dying to the falling meteors here. And at least, you know, try to get some of this value back, as he wasn't going to play into the gold weather, but he's forced to have his rows split by these movement cards, which Adzikov still has the Dwarven Agitator to continue the movement here as well. So it's really, yeah, playing the beer, playing Sheila on option as well, but it looks like Natalis is being considered here.
Freddybabes needs to pull like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Mega Draw and get like a Death Mode that he didn't originally put in his deck.
The only target for his Reaver Scout.
And these Dunbanners are just 7. Oh, man.
This deck isn't looking, the deck's not doing probably what Freddy was hoping it would do.
Oh, he forgot about the Reaver Scout. Yeah, he forgot about the Reaver Scout. He thought he was going to pull Stennis.
Is that what occurred there? Kind of reverse of what happened in the last game.
That's not what he wanted. That's not what he wanted. Oh, that's devastating. And now goes, the operator goes down. This is so good for Adzikov. He has 2 more Dwarven Mercenaries, which will be pulled through the Agitators. He still has the Blue Mounted Commando, and he still has Scorch.
And he still has Hattori on Bruverhood, which is arguably the strongest play that he has as well. And he can wait to play that. I mean, the Scorch is, at this point, not looking fantastic for Adzikov, but as soon as those Ales come down, there's going to be a target for it. So Freddybabes is just forced to play into this.
Just so you guys have an idea of how much strength we're talking about here with the Bruverhook play, Bruverhook can search for a silver card in his deck, right? So he's going to search for Hattori, which is a 3-strength silver elf, which will resurrect Barclay Elves, which is 2 strength. Barclay Elves have the potential of pulling either the Dwarven Agitator or the Mercenary. If he pulls the Dwarven Agitator, we are talking about 24 points. If he pulls the Mercenary, it's still okay. He's pulling 22. So a minimum of a 22 strength play, potentially as his last play, on top of Gold Weather raining down. Oh, this is tough.
And there's Sheila playing the Mahaka Mail and then grabbing Stennis. Now this is probably the card that Freddybabes wanted to get out of the marching orders, but he has a sole Reaver Scout in the deck at 1 strength. Marching orders does pull the lowest unit out of the deck and play it. The Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry had no armor to strip off any unit, so it just came down as a 7-point bronze, which is far below average these days for bronzes. As Adzikov can continue to play his low commitment stuff, he has 2 Agitators ready to go, which are going to always pull the Dwarven Mercenaries. And honestly, the value for moving the Blue Mountain Commandos is just fine as well. The Scorch target was available in John Natalis, but with the Ragnarok always hitting the highest unit, Adzikov's not always going to have the best opportunities to Scorch. So a Scorch was probably a consideration in that last turn, as now John Natalis shares 8 with Adzikov's own unit, and Scorch is a 0-point play.
The way I see it, though, and I think what's going through the mind of Adzikov here is that he may not even need Scorch to win this game if he's not able to generate as much strength that demands a Scorch in the first place. then he'll be fine regardless. I think like he's got so much momentum going on. Like double Dwarven Agitator, and that Brewer finisher is so nasty. Here we go. Prince Dennis into the blue stripe scout, which buffs absolutely nothing because there's nothing sharing its current strength. Oh, that's
okay. So
feels
Freddy has played 2 Dunbanner Heavy Cavalries that haven't been able to boost themselves from armor. He's played Stennis that produced a blue stripe scout, which wasn't able to pull anything out, and he also played a Reaver Scout, which didn't really get a lot of value for him because it produced one of the aforementioned Dunbanner Heavy Cavalries. So, you know, a lot of value seems lost here to Freddy. Plus the early play of Shawnee to bring back the Bernard Tutor when he could have put Adzikov on having the operator for the agitator, missed an opportunity to get that worthless 2-point card out of his hand. It's really all going Adzikov's way right now.
As you guys saw in the screen there, Prince Dennis is a 3-strength silver unit that has a deployability of basically not spawning, but pulling the top card, the top loyal unit from your deck. That's not gold. Oh, here goes Lambert. Oh yeah, this is a good Lambert.
This is good. It's gonna
the Blue Mountain Commandos. Lambert, it's your time.
Lambert's time to shine. Oh, Trollo.
This DJ though.
Wow, there's the scorch target though for Adzikov, so he'll be able to get right back into this. I think. I mean, this is a little bit further. Freddy was actually able to source a lot more strength than I expected, even though he's had a lot of low-value plays. He's been able to source a lot of units from his deck, and that DJ was pretty strong. Dijkstra pulling Trollo and
just not enough,
Lambert.
Though. Just not enough though. The meteors keep. It's raining fire, and you kind of wish it was raining men instead because this is devastating.
Don't we always?
I'm sorry for that.
Freddybabes dropping another low-tempo bronze here. Here comes Adzikov's going to be able to close this one off, even though the beer looks pretty good right now. The ticking of Ragnarok is not going to be enough, and the Patori from Bruverhook is going to seal the deal. As we said, it's going to have a potential of 24 points. There's really just nothing here. Freddy knows it.
And yet another dominant victory for Adzikov, going 2-0, 1 win away from moving to the semifinals. This is a very impressive performance by Adzikov. Definitely living up to the name of the #1 player of the pro ladder today.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of experience in matchups. He has played a lot of games, and he has proven that he's able to get to the top of the ladder now in 2 seasons. He was #1 at the end of last pro season, and he's currently, if I am not mistaken, I haven't checked in a little bit, but I do believe he is also #1 here. Dandelion with the official Gwent leak. I love that thing.
Observe a master in action.
Freddy has got his back against the wall now. Match point for Adzikov here. He's going to take King Bran in a situation where he is going first. Like we said before, King Bran probably suffers the least from having to go first because they are so strong with carryover. King Bran generally a very tough deck to beat. And Freddy is going to go ahead and play his monsters deck instead. He's had enough with trying to get Radovid to work for him. Adzikov looking for the 3-0 in the first of our quarterfinals matches. Winner of this match will be part of the semifinals, which will be starting tomorrow, Sunday at 4 p.m. CET.
Now, I'm not impressed, and I'm not surprised, by Freddybabes bringing Unseen Note to this matchup. It is definitely his best chance at taking down King Bran because it is the one leader that can actually overcome his carryover power. But what's interesting to see here is that Freddybabes' Unseen Elder lacks Necker Warriors.
Yeah, it's a really interesting list. It does run Neckers, it does run Harpies, and of course Solano Harpies and Standard Harpies as well, but no Necker Warriors to generate a horde of Neckers, which is really where the carryover gets devastating from the consume standpoint. But if you use Neckers in round 3 and cycle them around with Ekimara or something like that, you can still generate a ton of value from those little guys. So there is that at least, but being able to combat carryover is really what Freddybabes may have to do to get an edge here.
Now, there's certain things that are important to note about this matchup. First of all, Adzikov has Coral, Muzzle, and even potentially the likes of Scorch to counter Freddybabes' Neckers very efficiently. And Cleaver, on the other hand, from Freddybabes, can deny Ceres. And we also know that he's running 1 Archgriffin that can potentially deny key resurrections and maybe even restore.
Now you may be wondering why Freddybabes is opting to run Cleaver, the neutral locking unit, as opposed to Morvud, the monster's specific locking unit. And I think a lot of it has to do with the base strength of Cleaver, running cards like Monster Nest for ghouls, also running a single ghoul as well in the deck, as well as cards like Giant Toad. Gets a lot of extra value from the card if the card is in the graveyard or perhaps not required.
And there we go. We see the Priestess of Freya get the Warmonger out of the graveyard and proc Ceres twice. Ceres is one resurrection away from spawning onto any row, and
you never know where she's gonna go.
Yep, and he's managed to get a 6-point lead over his opponent. It is important to note that because he is going first, he has to try to catch up. The strategy here for Adzikov is trying to push the round to a point in which he can actually force his opponent to go down one card. And it's tricky. It's tricky because against Neckers, you don't really want to pass. It's very dangerous. So I'm going to be very interested to see how Adzikov approaches this matchup, actually.
One of the strongest openings Consume monsters can play is Woodland Spirit, which spawns 3 wolves on the board, and then right into Unseen Elder, which then destroys those 3 wolves, which are beasts. Every time a beast is destroyed on your turn, a harpy is sourced from your deck. It allows for a very devastating kind of 1-2 punch to get things started. Really great tempo, as Adzikov now has to make up a 13-point deficit at this point.
Unfortunately, there is no clear way for him to proc Ceres that last time, as he has actually 3 resurrection components. Well, he could man Lugos into Raider. Yep. He's counting if Armor Smith is enough here, as we're talking about an 11 strength Armor Smith, which is not enough, unfortunately. I like how Freddybabes went with that play with Unseen Elder. It's also very, it's not really vulnerable to Scorch, as he ate very little stuff. So, very good line of plays by both players here.
Yeah, I think getting the harpies out of the deck, Unseen Elder is really like a great tool for that. I mean, it's really hard to go about getting the beasts on the board and getting all of those consumptions anyway, that isn't very, very slow. Unseen Elder gets it all done in one turn, as well as you get the benefit of playing, a really good gold. Even though things have changed for monsters, Woodland Spirit is still a very strong card, but especially with these new harpies and with Unseen Elder being able to kind of be used in this way. Unseen Elder, this is a real milestone. This tournament is seeing Unseen Elder being played for the first time, normally, truly, literally unseen in the tournament scene.
Now, you may think, why is Adzikov risking going down -2? I think this is one of the matchups in which you can afford to do that, because it is of utmost importance for you to defeat Unseen Elder round 1. Because if you give them the driver's seat, if you give them control, look at that K-run though. Nice K-run right there, bypassing the armor as well, but it does proc Ceres. But yeah, like as I was saying, it's very risky, because Neckers represent tremendous carryover potential, and I don't think that's something Adzikov wants to deal with. And he'd rather go down -2, but take round 1 and be able to control that as much as possible.
Now, Karen just came out and ate Morkvarg, which actually had Morkvarg come back out of the graveyard, which actually proc Ceres. And I do believe this is very deliberate by Freddybabes. He wants to lock Ceres with Cleaver right now.
Yep, exactly.
This means that Ceres will not be coming back in a future round, as she will be locked in the graveyard and her effect no longer plays.
Excellent play by Freddybabes, setting that up, getting the Ceres out of there, and denying her for the rest of the game. Denying a very valuable component of Skellige's carryover, while also still threatening him with his own. He's got double Ikimara in hand with double Selena Harpy and the Necker just chilling there, which I think he will preserve until at least as late as possible, because if you're not running Necker Warriors, I'm not even sure you play it round 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, I think that the play is definitely to hold on to the Neckers for later. Especially, I mean, the Ekamaras are great for setting up carryover, which is very important against Skellige, where carryover is really the name of the game. But also, they're very useful in actually because you play the Ekamara to eat one of the Neckers, and they immediately cycle themselves out. So you're not just playing the 6 strength bronze. You're playing the 6 strength bronze plus the strength of the Necker, which will replace itself. So really good late game stuff in that way there. Of course, the Ekamaras can eat the eggs from Selena Harpy as well.
18-point scores, baby.
I was looking at those 9s. This is a fine time to use it, I'd say, especially if you really need to win the round. Again, you don't want to pass an Unseen Elder. But you see a great opportunity here.
It's risky, though, because I think Freddybabes is Freddy is very aware of the existence of Muzzle, so he wants that Necker to surpass 8 strength. But he goes for the Scorch. I mean, that is a rather tempting score.
Yeah.
So you can't blame him for taking it right there. 18 points, dropping Freddybabes down to 21. As we could expect potentially an Ekimara play here from Freddybabes, as it will surpass Adzikov's current carryover strength, as serious it will no longer be.
No, it's a really high commitment play from Adzikov. Very aggressive play as well. It's a huge point swing, which Freddybabes would have to decide if he wants to stay in the round or not. Unfortunately, Adzikov is committing when he has cards in his hand that aren't great. Having 2 Priestess of Freya, having 3 Resurrection cards early in the game, usually not. You're not going to get value out of all of them. Also, the Uncrate Raider. Really, you don't really ever want that in your hand unless you have a card that is able to allow you to discard from your hand, which Adzikov doesn't have at this moment. So he is probably unable to really push here. Muzzle wouldn't get full value, can only target a 5 strength unit, and then really what is he able to pressure with?
He has a Will Harpooner. He has a Will Harpooner. He's discarded a Will Harpooner, I believe. I saw that in his graveyard, unless I'm mistaken, so he could potentially resurrect it and damage the Ekimara, but that Freddybabes will probably pass after that, knowing that Muzzle is coming.
I mean, he could have done that. I think the Freyas are just a little bit too valuable in a later round. In this situation, especially considering he could bring back the Drummond Warmonger, which will discard the Raider, which would be probably put back in his deck at the beginning of the mulligan in round 2. I may have actually missed the graveyard. We have no way of actually checking at this moment what is in the graveyard, but it could have been a Harpooner, yes. He does have 3 in the deck, and those are good targets to have on call from Priestesses if you actually have to play them in round 1. It looks like Adzikov is just fine, just taking the lead here and forcing Freddy to play, and now he's going to be playing. The carryover here from Freddy is great. He's going to have a 6 strength Ekimara and an 8 strength Nectar on top of it.
Now Adzikov is going to play a little game here. It's called Pray You Don't Consume Anything, so I can steal your Nectar.
Yeah, exactly. The muzzle is great here. The muzzle is great. But Freddybabes will able to act. Ooh, and he draws one.
Another answer. Another answer for the carryover potential of Freddybabes. This is not over, folks. This is far from over. Even though Adzikov has a 2-point lead, we may have Freddybabes with a strategy to target King Brand. So in Conquest format, things can just go the reverse immediately. You have to win with every single one of your decks, and he has to win with the Skellige deck, and maybe Freddybabes is really prepared for it. We'll see.
So the Ekimara comes down immediately, which does exactly what you were thinking that Adzikov does not want to see, because that was a very, very tempting and maybe one of the best muzzle targets. But because another consumption effect happened, the Nectar does replace itself and grows by 1 strength on top of that. So I mean, Adzikov had answers for Nectars, but now all 3 of them have been sourced from the deck, so they are far less threatening now. Although it is something on the board that is going to continue to grow. Adzikov thinking Coral might be okay, probably for the Ekimara. 12 points removed there, as well as the resiliency.
Going with the Priestess of Freya, they're discarding the strengthened Clan Drummond Warmonger, which is 9 strength because it was discarded with King Bran, and going up to 15 points. He's setting up so that he can play Coral after that and deny the Ekimara if Freddy were to pass here, but I don't really expect him to pass, especially when he has the likes of Dorigaray in his hand, which could represent an Ekimara and a Flame Harpy too. I think Freddy's going to push here. I think he has no reason not to. Like, the shorter the round is, the more devastating his carryover will be. And at this point, because Sirius is out of the picture, this could mean trouble for Adzikov.
I mean, Adzikov's hand is so good, though, really. Like, I mean, he's got Coral and he's got Muzzle as well. He has the Haymane Battle Maiden, which can source an additional unit. He has 2 of his Resurrections. Freddy's going to go ahead and just see what Adzikov is able to do here. An easy choice here. Coral is enough to take the round, plus remove the carryover from Freddy. Really kind of disarming him here. And now we're going to go into round 3. This is match point for Adzikov. He has already won the first 2 rounds. Let's see how Freddy can deal with the #1 pro ladder player.
This could be the last set, the last game of this match. Adzikov is 1 win away from making it to the semifinals as he mulligans away Mr. YOLO into the Will Harpooner. And what I mean by YOLO, I mean older Rick.
Yeah, not interested in keeping a 12-point spy going into round 3. Giving that to your opponent is very risky at times, especially when the Scorch has already been spent.
Hovering over his graveyard, going for the Clan Drummond Warmonger, searching for the last Clan Raider, getting a 13-point swing to start things off with.
Freddy might just
what do you think
start.
about his hand? Ooh, that giant toad manticore combo though. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's really good. That's an 18-point play that sources an additional card from Freddy's deck, and if that card is Monster's Nest, I think Freddy would actually have a real advantage in this match because that Monster's Nest would automatically, just by virtue of eating the Manticore, be a 20-point closing play in this situation. With him having last say, it would be incredible that Adzikov would be able to source the strength to stop that. I think at this point, Freddy's probably just going to be, it looks like he's going to play Gels, but he also has those Harpies, which are fairly low commitment. He may just want to kind of let the round go a little bit and just limp into with the Harpies here. But
there you have the Toy Prince, which is, by the way, we call it Giant Toad. His name got changed recently. It is more, classy now, more royal.
Yeah, Toad Prince, that's true. Looks like Freddy was able to play a Renew on the Woodland Spirit, and we didn't get a chance to see which silver card he was looking at. And let me just check here. We have three.
Immediately Siegfried to Gramis to clear the weather, deny the Foglet, and deny just all the damage. Basically, playing a 6-strength silver to turn his gold into 8. I think that's a fair trade.
Now, if the silver card that Freddy saw was Frightener, that's what the Giant Toad will draw. But the other card is Monster's Nest, so it's a 50-50 chance that he saw the Monster's Nest, and he knows that is what the Giant Toad would draw for him when he plays it, cycles that card out of his hand, which would be the Manticore, as it will consume that card from the hand, coming down at 18 points, drawing the Monster's Nest. That would be a crazy combo.
This is far from over. Because he has double Selena Harpy in his hand, there's nothing Freddybabes can really do to avoid stacking the Rose. The more he stacks the Rose with units, the more powerful the Will Harpooner will be. He has one in the graveyard to be able to be resurrected, and he also has the Clam Hame Battle Maiden, which will search for the final Will Harpooner. So Harpooners may be enough to just provide huge swings for Adzikov. The key thing here is the muzzle. What is the muzzle going to target? And will it be higher than a 10-strength swing? Because right now, Selena Harpy is looking one of the best options, but you don't really want to go with that. First Harpooner goes down and knocks out the Woodland Spirit, moving Adzikov up to a 16-strength point lead over Freddybabes. And he has 4 more cards to go. This Giant Toad is going to be strong, but the problem is the Giant Toad will grant him a very big body that will be able to soak up all that damage from the Will Harpooner. So he may be holding on to it for a little bit. This is very intense right now.
Yeah, Muzzle's not looking great here. I mean, we see that it's either going to be a unit that's far too high for Muzzle to even grab, or 5. So I think that that's going to end up being a 10-point play.
Well, with Will Harpooner, you can play around. With Will Harpooner, you can make it happen.
Okay, and there's a lot of units on that row too. So if the Giant Toad comes down, the Whale Harpooner would knock 9 points, 10 points. I apologize. Actually, that would be exactly the muzzle target. If Giant Toad is played right now on a different row.
Yeah, I don't think that's that. There's no.
Freddybabes wouldn't be playing it on a different row.
He's committing way too much to place that Giant Toad.
Because Giant Toad is an agile unit, of course. A lot of units have been changed over the course of Gwent to lose their row lock status. As the muzzle is ultimately played on a 5-strength unit for a 10-point swing. Yes, there'd be no reason for Freddy to even give Adzikov the opportunity to knock that much strength off.
Freddy is really far behind right now. That Giant Toad is representing a tremendous swing, though. We're talking about 18 points.
I mean, I think that was Monster Nest that he saw, but it could have been Frightener. Freddybabes is looking definitely in focus here.
That's a pretty solid door grade there, Kimara. Providing him with a nice swing. Yep.
Yeah. You're going to take what you get here.
Here we go. Oh, man, he's going to bounce it back. This is going to be tremendous. This is going to be absolutely tremendous. He has such a lead. Giant Toad has to draw him something really good here.
Yeah, Monster's Nest is...
Oh, he got it! He's got it!
There it is.
Oh! Oh! Wait.
That's a 20-point play right now.
Wait. Is this enough? Oh, it's going to be so tight. Okay. Math. He's got him!
Freddybabes got it.
He's got him! Are you going?
Freddybabes not going to go home empty-handed. Not going to go home at all, actually. He's going to have 20 points here. He's going to take this one here. Adzikov shaking his head. He knows already.
Wow, what a match. Freddy's not out of it.
Freddy make an Unseen Elder look A-okay. Now, didn't you think that Unseen Elder would have you thought that they would have a pretty high representation of wins here? Because we know that Freddybabes not the only player bringing Unseen Elder into the tournament for Unseen Elder's debut appearance here. That was a great game. That was nice and close.
That was so good.
Yeah, Freddybabes needed to not see Frightener from Gels there in order to secure that. If he saw Frightener, that would have probably been it for Freddy. So that definitely was the, we don't know how much Freddybabes is going home with. It's not going to be 0. Thanks to Gels showing him Monster's Nest, and thanks to Toad just lining up that beautiful combo.
This is
that he
dangerous
needed.
for Adzikov right now. Look at the 2 leaders left. Emir, like the more I see, like Emir tends to have a solid matchup against Skellige, and Radovid can deny Morkvark and Sears with his lock, so he can deny the carryover game. This is far from over, folks. Freddy can really work for a reverse sweep here, and it would be epic as hell.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something for Freddybabes. Don't put it past him. Freddybabes is a great player. He has won Gwent Slam #1, and he is known for, he plays Northern Realms very well, and he's been looking for that matchup with Radovid, and I think exactly what you said is a threat to Adzikov. The lock on Morkvark and Series would really hinder what King Brand can do.
Now, this is another matchup in which Scorch could be game-defining. As we mentioned prior, this Northern Realms deck is very vulnerable to Scorch in several different ways. Like, the muster units all share the same strength, and that includes the Temerian Infantrymen. But he could also aim to target the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry huge swings in the late game as well. The only viable scenario for Lambert, because I know you guys really care about Lambert, is to hit 3 Raiders, because he's running 2 Armor Smiths, so Lambert, in this matchup against Skellige, you don't want to damage things without knocking them out, because Armor Smith represents a huge swing that will punish a play like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, as I've stated, the Radovid targets are clear. Morkvark and Ceres, always. That's what you do. That's what you preserve Radovid for. And Koro should
brutal,
aim
right?
to target Trollolo, actually. Yeah.
Adzikof's hand's not looking great. He's holding a Raider and Ceres. It's definitely 2 things you don't necessarily want in your hand.
Immediately.
Ooh,
This is the
forget it.
answer. This, like, you don't even think about this. Now he's stuck with Queen Ceres in his open hand, though. Like,
Yeah.
as I said, it's
So here's
it's a little bit awkward.
Here's how important that Coral was there. Trollolo is a card that generates armor over time, right? And Adzikov has seen this Radovid deck now twice. Knows that the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry needs targets for armor, and there's not a lot of those targets for Freddybabes. Trollolo represents a huge piece of that strategy with the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry, but without Stennis or Shani kind of being in the picture, there's no way for the Heavy Cavalry to work very well. So Adzikov choosing to eliminate Trollolo from even being resurrected or played again in any way through Nenekar or any sort of tactics at all means that the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry may be just, a low-tempo 7-point vanilla bronze in some situations.
Now, I have a question for you, because I didn't see the entire mulligan. Did he keep that Queen Ceres in his hand on purpose?
That, we're playing against Radovid here, right?
Ah, exactly, it makes sense.
What could have been something he's thinking here.
sense.
So in that case, either way, you can control like how many targets are on the board for Radovid, right? And we were talking about that a number of times already. Good players aren't going to let Radovid get full value if they can help it. And it looks like Adzikov can't help it in this situation. Morkvarg will come out when Bran is played, but Ceres won't. And that means that Radovid would have to take it. Either you have to choose if you're going to use Radovid and let Ceres get played. But at what point would Adzikov have to play Ceres and not get value out of her? It'd be round 3, I guess.
Yeah. Well, one of the strengths of Freddybabes' deck is clearly the surprise factor, which has gone away at this point. He knows he's running Macam Ale, so we may see Adzikov try to prevent that from getting value by moving stuff around early on with a Will Harpooner. Though he is hovering over the Warmonger, or he's just going to drop Ceres. I like this because you drop Ceres without having to play Morkvarg. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to play Morkvarg until Radovid goes down. That is so clever by Adzikov.
Freddy likes what he sees too. He's saying, "Wow," he raises his eyebrows.
Or maybe it was just a mulligan error. But this is not bad at all. Like, this is not bad. It doesn't force you to like play Ceres and Morkvarg at the same time. It's not terrible. It's not that bad.
Now, Freddy does not run any other locking units outside of Radovid himself, who is able to lock 2 units with his ability. But no Margarita, no Cleaver in this situation here. I don't
and yet
believe
another,
so.
like,
Just double check.
I don't think I've ever seen like a Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry from Freddy actually take armor from stuff.
No, that unit is definitely underperformed for Freddy in this particular.
Will he deny the beer? Will he say no alcohol for you? You are too young. Do not drink. Yes, that is the case. Adzikov is a responsible man. He wants to look out for it. He likes Freddy. They're friends. They're opponents, but they're friends, and he doesn't want him drinking.
Well played, Mogwai. Adzikov's seen this deck now twice, knows exactly the cards that Freddybabes is employing to get as much value as possible. Freddybabes has been fortunate enough to draw Sheila in all of these rounds where Sheila can be used to cycle a card and get full value for the Mahakam Ale. Sheila can't simply be played on the melee row to play a Mahakam Ale, which gets full value there. And that would be a pretty good play, I think. That's a lot of value right there. 19 points.
Yes. I think one of the Warmongers is clearly going to be utilized to synergize potential with Restore, which is going to lead to a very interesting round 3. You know, it's going to be Restore and Sigdrifa versus Shani and the DJ himself. And he's hovering over Radovid. He really wants to play. He's going to go for it. Or
Clock's
not.
ticking, Freddy. He wants to see Morkvarg really badly,
Yeah,
but I mean,
it's not going to happen.
he's going to go with the Sheila play after all.
Freddy's like, you can't tell me what to do. I want a drink. Leave me alone. And he goes for the Macamail right there, proccing it with the Syl de Tanserville, which has the deployability of basically playing a special card from your hand and then drawing a card from your deck. As the Clan Doom and Warmonger goes down and searches for the second Clan Enclave Raider, equaling the score for Adzikov.
Tie game, even cards, Freddybabes acting next. Still lots of stuff, lots of work that needs to be done with Freddybabes here with the Blue Stripe Scout. Now sourcing that last Blue Stripes Commando from the deck, which is something you definitely don't want to draw into and you don't want to have kind of unplayed there. So yeah, Freddy's deck's getting thinner and thinner at this point, improving his draws later in the game, of course. And
I like this.
Adzikov
He's setting up
with
the Restore.
Warmonger.
He's setting up the Restore. He's kind of stuck at this point because, as we mentioned earlier, he doesn't want to go with Morkvarg until Radovid hits the board. So he's actually setting up a Restore on the Clan Heime Skald. Sorry, Skald. That's the beard guy. She does not have a beard. She's a woman and she is a battle maiden, and she's 2 strength. So Restore will buff her up to 8, and will enable him to either chain into another Warmonger or most likely into the second Whale Harpooner. Lambert's coming.
And it's like you said, you don't want to leave anything damaged, so it's probably going to be
Go
the
Lambert!
Raiders.
That was 15 points. That's
Bless
terrible.
RNG or Lambert. Lambert coming down. I mean, like it is really important. You can't damage stuff and just leave it on the board with Skellige. Armorsmith will heal it. So taking out the Raiders, even though there is a little bit more value in hitting the Warmongers, it's more important just to send stuff to the graveyard here. There's that 8 strength Heime Battle Maiden. Just going to source that another Whale Harpooner here.
And there you guys, just in case you haven't seen him already, there he is, shining in glory, Lambert.
All of his glory. Adzikov deciding how he wants to line this up.
Yep.
It is the same amount either way, but it does affect kind of how the rows are lined up here. There's always going to be a target for the Mahakam Ale. The Temerian Infantry represent 18 points. I don't know if Freddy's interested in playing Dijkstra this round, how important it is for him to push here, but he is in the situation where he is going first, Adzikov going second. So Freddy's ability to push all the way down is, he doesn't have the opportunity to pass a card up like Adzikov does. So it's a little bit tougher for these decisions.
Right now, the thing about Dijkstra is it's definitely not coming down until the Temerian Infantry hits the board.
Oh, of course.
There's a very high chance. But Freddy still has some solid plays. Like Macamail is a very solid play here. It's a 12-point swing that puts him 14 points ahead. Though he may be worried about another Whale Harpooner that would put him behind. So, here comes Radovid. Papa Radovid.
14 points in the worst of days, but also being able to grab Saris is going to be enough here. This allows Adzikov to safely play Morkvarg in this situation.
Yep, we're never going to see King Bran into Morkvarg. The question is, what other 2 cards will he discard? What do we go for here? Let's see.
I mean, there's no other Raider. I don't believe he has one in his
Perhaps
hand.
Gremist?
Probably the Armorsmith. Yeah, the Armorsmith
Gremist
is.
Sigdrifa?
I mean, yeah, you could make a case for either in this situation.
It'll get buffed. It'll be 4-strength Gremist. I've never seen a 4-strength Gremist. I'm excited to see a 4-strength Gremist.
The Armorsmith in the graveyard is great for utility, and the Gremist, of course. I mean, it does tell Freddy that he's holding Sigurdrifa because she is able to resurrect a silver card. So even though it's in the graveyard, it will see play. As the rounds are going to be very short at this point. We're down to 3 cards left in each player's hand. A very deep round 1. Match point once again for Adzikov, and we're in Game 4 of the first quarterfinals match of Gwent Open 2.
Because Morkvarg has hit the board, Adzikov finally has his carryover, which means that if Freddybabes plays a card here, it would not be too crazy to see Adzikov pass.
Freddy's just going to pass here.
Freddy doesn't want that to happen. Freddy doesn't want, because the thing is, if Freddy were to play a card there, because of the carryover, he would be forever doomed to have like 1 card less than his opponent. So he's going to actually grant Adzikov with the victory to avoid that from happening, but at the expense of giving Adzikov the wheel right here, which is very dangerous. Very dangerous in a deck like Skellige, which thrives in a very short round. I'm going to be very intrigued to see just how far Adzikov is going to be willing to push here, or if he just goes with an open pass. We'll see.
Scorch and Priestess of Freya on the draw for Adzikov.
Decent hand.
You know, I feel like every time I watch Adzikov play, it's always about what's he going to scorch, because he's always holding a scorch in his hand at some point in crucial moments like round 3, which we are not in yet. As Freddy is just deciding he's going to actually put the Temerian infantryman back in the deck, which means that he has all 3 infantrymen back in the deck. Stennis in hand and Reaver Scout in hand means that marching orders pull. No, that's not actually true, maybe. That's not true. I'll take that back. Or does it?
Marching orders, what are you claiming it pulls?
Would it pull the Temerian infantrymen? We've seen all the Blue Stripes commandos and scouts, I believe. I think it actually would. I think the marching orders does pull the Temerian infantrymen, which are at 6, which would be the lowest unit in the deck, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I don't think I am.
All right, so he has Reaver Scout and Prince
Stennis in his hand,
Stennis in his hand. And yeah, I believe you're right.
I think that's
because
it.
the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry is 1 point higher, and they will be a Temerian infantryman. So it's definitely, that would be pretty strong, actually. We're talking about 20-point silver play there.
Thought about the pass, but it's going to actually push a little bit harder here.
Oh, I think he's going to punish him here, though. I think this, you go for marching orders 100% here. You go for marching orders, no doubt.
And then you're ahead, and you can stay ahead because the rest of Freddy's hand is not too
and
shabby.
also because of the buff with the marching orders, even though he has a Clan Doomer Warmonger, he also in a way plays around Scorch too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there wouldn't be a scorch opportunity for Adzikov, and there may not be. I mean, it really depends on how the beer is played and what gets pulled onto the board from Stennis and Dijkstra.
I think you go for marching orders here.
Yeah, you want to stay ahead in this situation. Freddy's up a card on the play here.
Oh no, he goes. Okay.
Well, that could have also pulled the Temerian infantryman, so I think that's fine. Although
that's
now Adzikov has the opportunity to.
But that's the thing. Like, he has the opportunity to pass. Will he go for it though?
This could actually be a scorch opportunity for Adzikov.
9 points though. I think he can go higher than that, especially considering Shani is a thing. Yeah, Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry can also be a thing. Like. I think you hold on to that Scorch.
Yeah, I think the only reason you would Scorch here if you were trying to 2-0. That's really the only way I think that would work, and that probably would not work in Adzikov's favor because we know that Dijkstra is also a thing, and we know that the Temerian infantrymen they represent a ton of points, and it doesn't look like Adzikov would have that much, even though Sigurd Drifa does also represent a lot of points.
This is a solid pass for Adzikov, I think. He's really risking it here. Like, if he keeps on pushing, this is a very big risk. I think this is the pass. Oh, he's not going for it.
Well, Reaver, it would be a great pass.
Oh, okay, look at this. Okay, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Yep, not even marching orders does it, so he's safe. He's safe. Never mind what I said. He's 21 points ahead. I was so obsessed over him resurrecting the Gremlins, but this makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a different story now. That 8-strength Heime Battle Maiden is. You know, when you see it once, it's usually pretty devastating, but when it can come back again, there's the big play, and you're right, it is just a little short. Adzikov is probably pleased with that outcome.
But since he's already went for like his big rest plays, is he pushing for the 2-0? What is he doing here?
I think that's exactly what he's considering right now. Do I try for the 2-0?
What is
a Scorch on 9 plus the Harpooner going to be enough? I don't think the Harpooner isn't as good as it could be because of the armor on the units that are alone on their rows. I don't think it would be, especially because we know about Dijkstra. There really is no reason, I think, to try to push here if you put your opponent on anything good in their hand.
I think he has a Priestess of Freya, Ulderic, and Muzzle left. Is that it?
I don't think we have seen Muzzle already in this match. I'm trying to recall if this was it. No, that was the last. I'm thinking of the 10-point Muzzle from before. So.
Freddybabes just again reminding him that he likes to drink and taking the second round with the Macam Ale as we head into round number 3. This could be the final round of the set of games as Morkspark comes back as a 1-strength unit. There is the Ulderic, which we'll definitely see him replace.
Well, with the Scorch in his hand, yeah, okay.
And there's a Freya. Like, that Freya is a good draw for him. The problem is he has no target for, he needed to, he really needed to mulligan away. Oof, this is tough.
I mean,
he needs to find key Scorch value here.
Keeping Ulderic would not have been that bad, right?
Oh, I forgot Jonathaus is dead.
There is no Commander's Horn. I also keep forgetting there's no Commander's Horn in Freddybabes' list, as it's twice we've seen Jonathaus come down for
that's
nothing.
So bad. Oh, that's so
And Dijkstra needs to pull something he needs to pull like a Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry or something that Reaver Scout can use, but there's no armor to strip.
Oh boy. 9 strength Will Harpooner. This is like a poor man's round.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. I mean, Adzikov may not be able to find value in the Scorch, but it may not matter. That Reaver Scout may not actually have a target as well. Freddybabes, you know, things just weren't really clicking with this deck. Game's not over yet. We still need to see what Dijkstra is going to pull.
The DJ could pull Neneke, and he can bring stuff back and kind of like alter the fate of the Dijkstra as well. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen here. It's all about Dijkstra. It's all about Dijkstra here.
Here
and
it comes.
Here we go. We'll make sure of that.
There's the heavy cavalry with nothing.
7. And
Shawnee.
the Shani! The Shani, that is huge. He's got Prince Dennis.
Oh man, what does he choose here? He's got to be careful.
If he pulls another Dunbanner though, like it's super. He's going for it. And what is that? Neneke!
Oh, it's
he
the
can return
Scorch
it!
target.
But it's just a 9. That's fine. Like a 9 Scorch is super weak.
Yeah, I mean
super weak. Oh my God, that DJ.
That was a hell of a DJ.
That Dijkstra, oh man.
I mean, the Dunbanners have looked. Dunbanner and John Natal is definitely not looking as good as they usually look, for sure. If it was in a different order, it would have been so much better. Then the heavy cavalry would have been able to strip that 5 armor off of Neneke.
He's 17 points behind.
It's pretty huge. At least
the Scorch will target the Dunbanner heavy cavalry that he's going to target with the. He's going to pull out with the Reaver Scout. How can you? Oh no, you can't because he drew Ulderic. He wasn't able to mulligan Will Harpooner back, so he can't res the clan Heimle Battlemated again and get a huge swing. He needed that. So bad. Oh, that's all. That's
boy,
that's
oh boy.
All. That's all. That's it. He's mathematically out of it. Freddybabes bringing this to a 2-2 in a potential reverse sweep in the works. Wow.
These have been some incredible matchups.
Wow.
Freddybabes pushes through with his Radovid deck that has, I mean, it didn't look pretty, but it got the job done for Freddybabes. We have seen the Dunbanner Heavy Cavalry not being able to get a boost from any of the armor. We said John Natal's bricked twice in this matchup here, but now the Titans are going to clash here, and we're not talking about Burza versus Dandelion. Dandelion could have picked a better weapon, I think, in that fight. But we're talking about the two Titans, King Brand and Emir, are going to go against each other here. Emir and King Brand, arguably the strongest decks, as we can tell by the bans, and they are now the last men standing here. This is going to be maybe the most intense matchup of them all. Freddybabes looking for the reverse sweep. Adzikov looking for a tournament victory against somebody who knocked him out in a previous Gwent Slam. So far, the narrative has been good for me, and you know, we've seen some great choices. We've seen Unseen Elder take a win. We've seen Radovid take a win with Lambert in the deck. And now we're going to see something that we're probably very used to if we've been playing on the ladder. 2 really strong decks duking it out here with Emir versus King Brand.
The Empire finally hits the stage as we see a very, very decent opening hand for Freddy right there. Iris, Cantarella, a lot of diversity. You may make an argument for pushing the Imperial Enforcer back and hoping to fish it with the Emissaries, but the Guardian in the opening hand is so good. It's so good, and there's only, like, the only answer that Adzikov has for that Guardian is Koro. That's it.
Yeah.
Or he could damage it and muzzle it too. Oh, by the way, spoilers, no muzzle. Instead, we have Assassination right there.
That's
Look
right.
at that Assassination. Assassination, not really the greatest card here. Like, it could potentially give him a 16-point swing if he managed to catch 2 Will Harpooners on the board. But not really going to hit anything too valuable, but still going to be a decent swing for him. But muzzle could be key here, but he does not have muzzle in his opening hand. That muzzle on the Guardian would be tremendous, but unfortunately, unless Ulderic fishes him that, it will not happen.
So Freddybabes has to go, Adzikov has to go first in a matchup against Nilfgaard here, which the Guardian is very, very good when you're able to go second. And of course, now the Guardian isn't enough to take the lead here, but you know, it's seeing itself get a little bit higher representation in Nilfgaard lists these days. Freddybabes maybe is just going to be playing it anyway, or not.
Coming over, he's definitely considering muzzle into the equation. Like, the thing is, he hasn't seen muzzle from him, but he knows. I think it's pretty common knowledge that Adzikov really likes muzzle. So
I mean, we know it's in all of his lists.
He's definitely expecting it, I believe.
So the Guardian is a very strong card. When the round ends, it puts 2 very low-value bronze cards on your opponent's deck, which forces you to immediately draw them in round 2. You mulligan 1 away, but you're still stuck with kind of a really subpar 6-strength card with no ability in your hand, and your opponent knows it as well.
This is super intense. King Bran could actually become the liability for Adzikov here. Radovid really having a tough time getting that win, but oh boy, was that key. That game was so key.
Yeah, it's going to be, I would say that Adzikov is probably, I mean, I don't want to call, no, I'm not going to call anything at this point. I think that, you know, we're seeing two great players playing two great decks against each other at the highest level at this point, as this is the Gwent Open #2. First quarterfinals match of the day, and what a series it's been already. We're on game 5 at this point.
Now, some important things to note about the King Bran versus Emir matchup is, especially considering these particular decks, is that I believe it is a slight advantage for Emir. Even though Adzikov's Scorch has tremendous potential here, especially if he can catch multiple Impair Brigades, which he can damage with the Will Harpooners and set up said Scorch. Madman Lugo's hitting the board immediately to knock out the first Impera Enforcer. Very straightforward play, as Impera Enforcer is a card that will definitely snowball out of control if left untouched. And it's interesting. There's a lot of potential plays here. Vicar of Aromatics are technically used to resurrect emissaries, but in this particular matchup, you could preserve one to disrupt, restore into Battle Maiden, for example, or Freya.
Yeah.
And I think Coral should be preserved for the likes of Iris, because it is his only Iris answer.
Being able to completely delete a card from the game like Coral can do definitely will hinder the strategy that Freddybabes, or I should say Nilfgaard generally employs. Since Iris has so much synergy with Nilfgaard as a disloyal unit as well, you know, it can be pulled by cards like Rainfarn, and it can be destroyed by cards like Nausicaa Brigade. So, you know, being able to just remove that completely, I mean, Adzikov will need Coral in his hand to do that, of course, but that is an option that's always going to be Freddybabes' consideration for Freddybabes in this matchup. Madman Lugo's a great control option for Skellige. I wasn't sure, did you catch what Lugo's put in the graveyard to kill that Enforcer? Was it a Harpooner?
I kind of missed that. I'm focused like on this play right now. This Armor Smith, this is next level stuff right here. He's setting up the Armor Smith so that he can't be the victim of an emissary chain into, or like have an Enforcer just knock it out in one hit to like start, you know, enable the Vicar of Aromatics to go crazy. But the second emissary hits the board and it pulls an Impera Enforcer, which does knock out the unprotected emissary, as he's suffering with Will Harpooner. I wonder what he's going to try to push. He's going to try to set up a, I think it may be too early to try to set up a Scorch. Hovering over Udalryk though.
I mean, he can set up, I mean, if he plays Udalryk and, I mean, usually you get multiple buffs on the Brigades. You know, it's not always just one 2-point buff on the Emperor Brigade, which gets buffed every time you play a disloyal unit on your opponent's side of the board. You know, it's possible that Udalryk would line up with an Emperor Brigade, but Freddybabes knows that Adzikov loves Scorch. So, I mean, how do you really play around that when you play mostly disloyal units?
Yeah.
The two Vicar of Aromatics aren't, you know, usually you want to pull your emissaries, but I mean, in this case, well, it's still good. It's still good.
But she brooks
Oh, but Adzikov's going to take it out of his own graveyard.
Denying it. I like that a lot.
Nicely
Going into the
done.
Warmonger and actually dropping. That's a little bit risky though, because that does give him an excellent Vicar of Aromatic target. As he could Vicar of Aromatic the Freya and then resurrect his own Impera Enforcer, which fell earlier to the Madman himself.
It's a good play.
Adzikov,
Especially this round's kind of just in the midpoint right now. That would be a great play.
Yep. Adzikov with a 13 strength lead over Freddy, but one card below. Really hovering over Udalryk, trying to figure out when is the proper time to play it. As I think it's a little bit too late to try to line up a Scorch, or maybe not, because he does have double Will Harpooner. It's just going to be some next level positioning here to really figure it out, how to set it up properly.
Adzikov's he's kind of a round 3 Scorch guy. He tends to not. I mean, he saw some great opportunities in this match, in this match, to get it done here. There's Assassination, 14 points. He'll take it, I guess. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff that requires removal here.
Yep, not great, but not terrible at the same time. Again, hovering over that Udalryk. I think this is potentially a good moment to use it because you're still threatening your opponent. Because Freddybabes is only 1 point ahead, and Udalryk would put him at 13, right? So he can definitely make a 14-point play. Or can he? Because War Harpooner doesn't represent. Well, yeah, War Harpooner, if he puts it in the back, represents 4 damage. So no, that's just a 12-point swing. Oh,
no, those are pretty good
couple.
draws. Unfortunately, he does have to discard one of them.
No, this is awful.
Which one do you keep?
Oh, this hurts. Oh no. Not like this.
Oh man, you can
Gotta
make a
take
case
the
for either
coral.
of these. Yeah, coral denies Iris, and I think that's
Muzzle,
ultimately
though.
what Adzikov might be thinking there. But
Oh, look at the face of Freddy. I'm pretty sure, he's checking out his graveyard. He's like, oh, I don't have to deal with that anymore.
so
That would have been
brutal.
so huge on the Guardian. Oh man, that really sucks for Adzikov. But you gotta take coral. It's your only answer to Iris. You have to take it. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Udalric does draw you a card, but forces you to discard one. And when you get two great cards to look at, you have to make the tough decision. And I think, yeah, Coral for sure in this matchup is likely the card that is going to help you win more often than Muzzle in this case. We talked about there could have been some cool opportunities with Muzzle, taking an Enforcer perhaps, or taking the Guardian, but ultimately it's just going to be Coral that will be the way that this will be decided. Well, we'll see one way or another.
Another important thing to note is that generally as a spy player, you don't really want to play Cantorella round 1 because you're not going to be able to deny their carryover if you're not playing the likes of Ox. So preserving Cantorella for round 2 and just ensuring that you can push them as hard as possible and you take round 1 because Spies has a very easy time defeating Bran in round 1 due to the snowballing effect of his cards is the proper strategy, as it will enable you to get back that card advantage and lead to a round 3 in which you have the last say.
Oh, he's gonna use it. He's gonna use
going for
Coral
Coral.
now.
On the Guardian.
Or is he? Or is he?
Oh no, we're gonna see a pass. I think this is a good pass.
I mean, he's thinking about you'd use oh man, Adzikov. Tough decision here. I mean, denying Iris is a real thing. He's using Coral.
Okay, here we go.
How do you feel about this one, Miguel?
This is Lesser Guardians is like, if you lose round 1 and you're drawing Lesser Guardians, that can get really rough. So I understand this, but now oh my God, here. I mean, he can't deny Iris at this point anyways, because he has double Enforcer regardless.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I didn't expect him to go for it like round 1. I don't think. It's
oh,
necessarily
look at this Scorch.
Oh my God.
Look at this Scorch.
Oh my God.
How do you say no?
I mean, is it even possible?
How much is it though?
34 points.
Yeah.
It's actually not enough to catch up, which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But
that it
you're not
enough.
gonna get a better Scorch than this. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
This is actually insane.
I mean, it might be the biggest Scorch we see in this entire tournament right now.
Whew. Is he gonna make it burn?
Freddybabes is leaning back at this point. I mean, I wonder what he thinks is gonna happen here. I mean,
he's kind of revealing that he has Scorch here, though, in a way, because the fact that he's debating about continuing or not, like, what other cards can provide him with such a swing? You're kind of giving it away by hovering over it. There it is. There it is, a 34-point Scorch, which is actually not enough for Adzikov to surpass Freddy right there. But man, I don't think I've seen very few Scorches reach that high point. That's as good as it gets, man. But
I mean, it's the dream when you run that card.
Yep. But now he's already dealt with Iris, and he's already dealt with the Guardian, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Like, all he has to worry about for round 3 is that Rainfarn into Joaquin, which is a very, very feared finisher from the Guardian faction. I wouldn't know. I love Joaquin.
I mean,
bro.
Both of these players are putting, like, here comes Rainfarn. Like, these are huge plays you normally see in round 3.
He's going for the Emissary. Yeah, this makes sense. He doesn't necessarily need Rainfarn, but with double Impair Enforcer and now pulling an Impair Brigade, like, this is really solid. Like, you have no reason not to keep going here. After that 34-point Scorch, Adzikov, slapped back down to a 17-point disadvantage, hovering over the Woe Harpooner, which is starting to represent 12-point value, which is not amazing, but it's also not that bad. And at the same time, Freddy is running out of options. He's maybe forced to play Cantorella eventually, because that Vic of Medic, I mean, that graveyard is pretty stacked, right?
Yeah, no, there's good stuff in there.
But there's no Emissary. That's the thing. Well, no, yeah, there is. He just knocked it out. What am I talking about? Yeah.
Both players just are really expending a lot of resources to take this round. It's a super deep round 1, maybe the deepest we've seen in so far in this matchup here. And it's very close. We've seen I think that when you hit a 34-point Scorch and it's not enough, it really is a testament to the might of Nilfgaard.
I love this Emir into Vic of Medic. I am so for this play. This is so this is definitely what you go for. because Vic of Armag is such a strong tool in the Skeletal faction. A bronze card that can mess up with your opponent's graveyard, and getting that third Enforcer this round is pretty much a wrap. Like, there's just...
Yeah, at this point, it's like Cantarella's barely even any points at all.
But Ceres comes out because the Emissary is resurrected onto the opponent's side of the field. So it does count as a resurrection. And it's important to note that because he's already played Emir, so Sigdrifa can potentially target Iris, and he has Will Harpooner.
Oh no!
Like he has a way to actually get out of this eventually in round 3. Like, it's not over for Adzikov by any means. Like, the fact that he can actually get Iris and he can proc it, oh, he's well aware of this. Emir he says no to that because Emir can just come in and just return Iris to his hand.
Yeah.
But now that it's out of the way, this is a super interesting match. I mean, I always love watching Spy Nilfgaard. I know it's a top tier deck, but I played Nilfgaard before it was cool, and I will always play Nilfgaard whether it's, you know, tier 1 or tier 11.
He's playing the Whale Harpooner instead of using it to do any sort of Iris shenanigans here.
Well, he can always resurrect it later down the line. This is a game plan for. I don't think this is the time to do it. I think that's something that you preserve for the round 3.
Well, if he's able to source a Whale Harpooner, yeah, absolutely.
A bit of blood.
I think he'll definitely be able
Absolutely.
to. I think with some draws, especially considering how much he's in his deck, I don't think that will be too much of an issue. And we see the Infiltrator, and it's just too much. I think. Oh, denying Morgvar completely. Denying the oh no, he denied the carryover. He denied the carryover because he kept pushing.
Man, Freddy's been able to just put haymaker after haymaker, just never being down in points here, even though in the face of a 34-point Scorch, and you know, Skellige generally is a very strong deck here.
Wait, he's still pushing.
Yeah, he's still
So
pushing.
I guess he's not gonna resort to that Iris play then. Or maybe he is.
Well, I mean, how do you deal with it though? No, that's it.
There's the
Adzikov has
pass.
had enough. Too rich for his blood there. He's going to take that extra card and be on his way out
This
of this
is so
match.
intense.
Freddy
This is so intense.
only had Cantarella left, but that Cantarella with 3 Enforcers on the board and a Brigade, I mean, it might as well just be, what is that, just 1 point, 3 points?
There's a
Restore is a
restore.
great draw.
Restore is super key, and a priest. These are excellent draws. Excellent draws for Adzikov. We'll see if he mulligans something away though. No, he just keeps everything. This is too good of a hand. The Iris Dream is possible. He could actually utilize the Iris against him. That is so damn huge.
It's great
This is so
if he won
exciting.
the round, but
Yeah.
using that in round 2 only keeps him alive, and then he has round 3 to deal with. And we know Skellige's short game, especially with cards like Joachim de Vet, very difficult to deal with.
Yep.
And he's holding Menno and Vilgefortz. Nice hand, Freddy. Nice hand.
Very, very
and
nice
Kalok.
hand.
So, I mean, as far as like, it's not bad having like the 3 best cards in the faction almost in your hand. So.
Freddy must be aware of the possibility of Iris coming back, so he may opt to actually really push him, and that would be the correct line of play, in my opinion, as the shorter the round is, the more difficult it is to actually get good value out of Iris. Adzikov is already in a tough spot. Like, he kind of wants to keep all these cards in his hand.
Yeah, the
But
bleed is
the most
bleed's
expendable one
devastating.
is this one for sure, as he's just gonna opt to go for the Clown and Clay Raider. You have to, because. Or you could also make a case for the Hemi Battle Maiden, actually, now that I think about it. Because you can always resurrect. Yeah, I like that, actually. Because you have Restore.
Yeah, you
So,
get that
yeah,
8th strength Battle Maiden, which gets another Warmonger out of the deck. Pretty strong plays, and Adzikov is going to need strong plays to handle this here, because we know Menno.
So good.
Menno is able to completely destroy any disloyal unit, which includes the 11th strength Cantarella on Adzikov's side of the board. Kalok's a pretty good target for Vilgefortz, which destroys a unit on your own side of the board to source an additional unit from your deck.
Going for the Kalak, switching for the Emissary, thinning through his deck even more. Freddy is going in. Freddy is pushing him as hard as he can. Pulling out the Imperial Brigade out of the deck. Thinning some cards that are not really valuable for the last round, which is very solid. I like this play. It's going to be to see how he plans on using Vilgefortz in round 3, though, because he does have to burn a target. Adzikov hovering over the Priestess of Freya. Does he have another? He did discard a Priestess of Freya, and it never got stolen by. No, it did get stolen. Sorry, by the Vicar of Medic earlier.
It did, yeah,
so-
to get the Enforcer later on in the round, a little
Mm.
deeper into the round 1 there. Just taking a quick review of his graveyard.
This is a difficult spot for Adzikov to be in, because you definitely don't want to like waste any more cards here. But he may just, yeah, he's gonna go for the Freya here.
You see Menno on the screen here. Menno will destroy Cantarella immediately, as she is a spying unit. Easy 19 points for Menno.
I mean, I think you keep the Will Harpooner here because it'll do the same as resurrecting it. So yeah, good there. Thinning his deck to just down to 2 cards, so he will 100% get what he needs. The question is, what is his other card? Because we know he discarded Muzzle. He's already played Olderic. Has he played the Grimmest?
Well, I mean, the best target was already made. It was already spying in this case, but this game's really close, and Menno is a huge swing.
Yep.
Adzikov can get out of this round, though, right? Adzikov is not out of this round if Freddy pushes.
Yeah, no, Adzikov can definitely keep up.
Yeah.
I mean, now would be a nice time to Iris, but I guess he's just not going for that. Going for the Will Harpooner instead because he's going to aim to restore the Clan Haley's Maiden and actually chain summon another Will Harpooner. So despite the huge swing that Menno will provide, 19 points to be precise, it will not be enough for Freddybabes to be able to 2-0 him. But
Freddy wants to take this to a top deck war in round 3.
The thing is,
oh man.
yeah, that's bad.
Adzikov's face
That's
tells the
bad.
tale, my friends.
Oh no, because he's gonna,
I'm
wait.
ready to see the top decks, my friends.
Yeah, he's gonna go for he has to go for this because he doesn't want to proc Ceres. He's gonna discard the Will Harpooner, and he has 1 card left in his deck. What is it?
Both players are all in at this point.
Is it Freya? Did he
We're
play only 2 Freyas?
There is only 1 card left.
No, it's Grimmest. Oh, it's just 11 points. Van Hamar's not good enough,
Oh,
though.
man.
Van Hamar, he has to replace. Is that Joaquim?
Oh!
It's Joaquim!
Freddy's gonna do
It's
it.
Joaquim!
Freddy's got this one. Oh my god.
Wait. Does he have it?
Well, what is Joaquin pulling, I suppose?
Oh, he's got him! Oh, he's got him! What
Wow.
a series! Freddy with the reverse sweep over Adzikov.
Unreal.
Adzikov, no revenge today. Advances to the semifinals. What a set of games. Outstanding.